She sleeps now, steel and shadow, moored to the riverbank. But once she thundered across the open seas, carrying boys who became men beneath her decks. The USS Edson, more than metal, more than memory, a vessel of stories etched into every bolt and bulkhead. Meet Bill Randall, a sailor turned storyteller, who traded his sea legs for paint-stained overalls. How did this warship drift into the heart of Bay City? Why does one man give his time, his sweat, his heart to something that no longer sails? And what makes this ship more than just a relic? My name is Cliff Duvernois, and we are Total Michigan.
So, Bill, if you would, why don't you tell us, what is the USS Edson?
Okay, the Edson is a Vietnam-era destroyer, Navy destroyer that served 10 tours in Vietnam. She had a lifespan of about 30 years, from 1958 to 1988 is when it was decommissioned. The Edson kind of has the relationship of Bay City is that Bay City used to have Defoe shipbuilding on the Saginaw River, and they built ships very, very similar to the Edson. And I remember when I was a kid, I used to watch them go down and launch those ships. But that, and for recruiting purposes and for educational purposes and trying to preserve our history is why we're here. Okay, welcome to the aft engine room. And this is one of two engine rooms. There's two propellers on the ship, so there's two engine rooms. This is the aft, the one that's on the rear. And what this motor that you see here will generate is 35,000 horsepower. So what it is, reduction gears work like the transmission in your car. They turn, which turns the propeller shaft. Working in here, I work in a room very similar to this, and the temperature of this room is about 130 degrees. And when the turbines are spinning at their highest rate, it sounds like a jet engine. So it is very, very hot and very, very loud in here. So now my wife and I sit and go, what? What'd you say? Huh? Because I can't hear anything anymore. 1,200 PSI. That's your steam temperature, 800 degrees. And that's why it's so hot in here.
Bill takes me around the ship. Every bolt, every bulkhead, even the shellback plaque. Everything has a story. And with every story, there's a sense of pride, which makes me wonder, who are the people who worked so hard to bring the Edson here? Why put themselves through that? I asked Bill to share with us why this means so much to him.
So I've been around a lot of different places, seen a lot of things, and done a lot of things as a young man. I don't regret it. I've learned an awful lot, and I wouldn't give it up for $1 million. But that's why I am here, to convey to people that come on board, to convey what it was like to actually have to do this. Because people don't have an understanding of what it's like to have to serve on something like this. It's a whole different lifestyle. And it's very, very regimented. For a young man to get discipline, this is where you got it. It's called the pilot house, or the bridge, and this is where most of the commands for the ship at sea come down from this room. This would be your steering wheel, called the helm. The helmsman, he's steering the ship, he's steering by not looking out the windows. He's watching his course indicators and this magnetic compass right here. The man on the engine order telegraph, called the lee helmsman, for changing speeds of the engine. Everybody else that's up here, especially in rough seas, it's hanging on this bar. That's what this is for, because it's like this, back and forth and back and forth. That's why the helmsman has handles to hang on to.
Because it was built in Maine.
Right.
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 How did it come come to Bay City?
This ship used to be a museum ship in New York City. It was part of the Intrepid Airspace Museum. And it was there for 13 years, and they had let this go because most of the funding and attention went to the aircraft carrier, the Intrepid. So they let this one go, and they put it into a mothball fleet in Philadelphia, where it's scheduled to be scrapped at some point in time. It was sitting there for a number of years out in the weather. So when we got it here, it was really, really in bad condition. But what we did is we towed this up out of Philadelphia up the St. Lawrence Seaway, and it took about 3 weeks to get her here by 2 tugboats. And that has been almost 13 years ago. So we've been here for almost 13 years now.
I'm amazed at how much this ship is functional. After years of neglect, parts that go missing or just scrapped or even just wear out. So I had to ask Bill, where do you get replacement parts for a ship that was built 70 years ago?
We make them. If we make them, or we go to one of the shipyards if we can get it. Because shipyards, there's a Navy yard in Philadelphia that has a warehouse that has nothing but parts. But trying to get it is kind of hard too. But a lot of the stuff we do ourselves, or we have gotten like a radar from a ship that was down in Louisiana. There was a radar that was down there. So we went down there and we traded, I don't know, like a torpedo for it or whatever. And we brought it back and put it up on the mast.
Oh, that's
torpedo,
you give me a radar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's trading material. But
that's got to be a cool thing in the world.
The attention to detail is just amazing. Nothing has been overlooked. I do know that at one time, this ship was state-of-the-art. So when Bill takes me into the radio room, I make a joke about today's computers. Bill just smiles and says, "Follow me."
I'm going to show you the computer that fired these guns. These guys were fire control technicians, and their motto was this: we aim to please. So this is one of 2. So this is actually a computer. What this is a Model 56 gunfire control computer. So these guys, fire control technicians, the Navy sent them to school for over a year to learn how to operate these computers. Now, your telephone has more computing power than this entire ship does. It's hard to wrap your mind around that. And what they had, like the electronics in here, are like these. Yeah. These are the electronics of the day. And now all that will fit on a microchip.
TripAdvisor loves you.
Loves the Edson. We are actually the number one thing to see in Bay City, and we're rated as the number one thing to visit in Bay City. So we get a lot of people naturally looking for something to do, and they'll go to TripAdvisor. And we have, for the past few years now, we've had the number one rating in Bay City. We have a lot of people that come here in the summertime.
There's no way I could show you everything. This is something you need to experience for yourself, whether that's just taking a tour or spending the night.
On our website is Saginaw Valley Naval Ship Museum. The website is SVSNM. Stands for Saginaw Valley Naval Ship Museum.com is our website, okay? And we're also on a Facebook. We have a Facebook page also. But if you want to say purchase tickets, buy merchandise from the store or whatever, you can do that on our website. We have all our numbers, and it's an interactive website, so you can do an awful lot on it. So that's just about my ship in a nutshell. Yeah, like I say, if you come and visit us, you can see it all.
History isn't just locked in books. Sometimes it's told in story. Stories that rattle through bulkheads, whispers from old radios, or waiting on the deck of the USS Edson for someone like you to listen. Come experience these stories for yourself. My name is Cliff Duvenois, and we are Total Michigan.